Welcome to Horses, Hope, and Hustle, the podcast where faith leads, grit drives, and the Western way of life runs deep. I'm your host, Crystal Show, wife, horsewoman, entrepreneur, and believer that God doesn't waste the hard stuff. Around here, we talk real stories, big dreams, and the kind of hustle that's rooted in hope. So pull your hat down, pour that coffee, and let's ride. Whether you're running horses, a business, or a whole lot of both, this episode gives you the clarity and confidence that you need for your accounting situation. Cassidy Honne of War Pony Consulting gives us the tips and tricks and mistakes to avoid in this episode. So take notes and listen up. Today I'm here with Cassidy Honne from where in Texas?
Midland. It's West Texas. Good old Midland.
Perfect. And in Midland, you have the War Pony Accounting.
Yes.
Correct?
So I have the War Pony Consulting. Yes, is what I just to throw it under an umbrella, we called it consulting. So.
Mm-hmm. And what all do you do with that?
So it is a third-party accounting firm. So it's all a remote firm. I actually have a girl that works for me, and she lives all the way in Colorado. So I think from my doorstep to her doorstep is like maybe just shy of 20 hours. So quite a ways, but it's a big accounting firm. So we offer anything from entity setup. So if you want to do like an LLC, really just structured towards small businesses. So payroll, entity setups, tax prep. We don't do tax returns. We do all the tax prep work, bookkeeping, financial preparations, audits, kind of anything that you need for your business to keep it legal, making sure you're applying by all the rules, because we do live in the United States of America where there's taxes for taxes for taxes, and it gets a little confusing. So we're just kind of here to help you navigate through that and make sure that you're also getting the best benefit on your end, because there's a lot of people that have businesses and they do things, but they're missing some big deductions, or even just outside of the tax side, like just liability things, like especially in the horse world, you got a lot of trainers, and horses don't cost, they're not cheap no more. They're next to a mortgage. And so just making sure that when you're doing your stuff, you're doing it to where, one, the liability can't come back and bite you as a trainer in the butt and bankrupt you, and that you're having standard accounting practices in a nutshell. Yeah.
And then on top of that, you're a mom.
I am a mom. Yes. I have a 6-year-old and then I have a 5-month-old. Yes. It's been really fun. In fact, I was actually late to this because we are starting to teeth and it has been so great. So yes, no, it's really sweet. I have them. My husband and I, we've been married now for 8 years. So it's been really fun. Yeah. We both rope and share the life, and it's been really cool to raise our kids now. It's still weird to say kids, but raise the kids in the Western life.
Yeah. That's a lot to juggle too, because you're busy with
it. Has been, all of it. So originally I started War Pony as kind of like a side deal, right? Because it is hard to work for somebody full time, like being a mom and trying to rodeo. Well, not really rodeo. Let me take that back. We just like to rope for fun. We're not like going down the road by no means, but even to be able to do that and be a wife and do all these things, like a 9 to 5, an 8 to 5, whatever you want to call it, it's impossible. Like there is not that many hours in the day. Yeah. And I just found it was hard. Like I was missing so much of little things, because it's like everyone always says, oh, it's okay, you can go to, muffins with mom or whatever the case is. But it's hard. And so I kind of started War Pony, and I actually took it to like kind of branched it out in some different directions. So I have War Pony Consulting, and that's where we do the business stuff. And then I have the War Pony podcast, which is actually how I met Crystal.
Yes, that's how we met.
And so, you know, just like talking about West Texas and sharing the stories and things. Because, you know, to me, it's like we get looked over a little bit in West Texas because Stephenville is 4 hours away from us, and it's the cowboy capital of the world, right? Everyone's like, oh, you know, even if you don't know where, like in anything in Texas, like you've heard of Stephenville.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like putting West Texas on the map and sharing the local stories and things to like from West Texas to the world, essentially. But then I had some friends that have the arena. They have a really nice indoor. Well, I guess it's not really totally indoor. It's 3/4 closed in. I don't know what you'd call that. Covered arena. Mm-hmm. And so we were doing some productions and things there. But since I had the little one, I just kind of scaled back and really just been focusing on the consulting side. And I've been really blessed too, is I really found this passion. Like I've always loved numbers. I've always loved helping people, but I've really found like, it's so cool to see somebody, for example, and this is not a sales pitch. This does not mean this can happen to you, but it was just really cool that I had a client who we were doing a big cleanup, right? Because he thought he understood his financials from being, you know, like expenses, liabilities, assets, all the things. And in the particular tax year before, he was quite behind. So we just had to file, but he owed $23,000. And once we got his books cleaned up, got all the assets recorded properly, all the liabilities, he actually had assets that weren't even on the books. And it's important that you do because you get to take depreciation on things. Mm-hmm. And so he ended up next like owing $500. So it was really cool when it was like said and done. Just, I love like a good puzzle. I love a good cleanup. I love like when it all comes together and it's like, oh, here's chef's kiss. Here's your product. So that's been really fun. I like that. It's kind of like I do the same thing every day, but I do it for just different people. Mm-hmm. So I have a lot of the oil field, as I mentioned, like I live in the heart of the oil field. So I have quite a few clients that have like small service companies. I really try to target like, I don't want to say like mom and pop businesses, but like, I'm not trying to go beat down the door on Chevron. You know, I want to help the smaller people that, you know, they don't necessarily need an office person full time, but they still need the job done. Mm-hmm. And so that's been cool. And then I have some like equine people that they're either trainers, farriers, have started like a product in the industry, which has been really cool to like watch that. And so I love it because it's really intriguing. It's like, oh, those are my people. Like I still get to be involved in it just in a different way. So I don't know. I'm like, I guess kind of like nerdy when it comes to that. I always try to like talk to my friends and then I'm like, I like tell myself, I'm like, okay, don't talk about numbers with your friends. Like they just want to be your friends. But then I'm like, by the way, if like low key, how are you doing this? You know, because I'm like, oh man. So I'm like, I'm trying not to be that person, but I do. I love it. And I feel like when you do something that you love, I mean, it's just like you with the horse sale stuff, like it just, you can tell when someone likes what they're doing, and then you can tell when someone's just doing a job.
Yeah.
And so,
absolutely.
Yeah. And so I've been really fortunate. It has been a juggle. I mean, there's days like, there's days that my husband, he works in the midstream, which is like the pipeline side of oil and gas. And, he'll get home from work and it's like, hey, I've got to go to the office for a couple hours. Like I still have stuff I have to knock out, you know? So it's definitely behind the scenes. It still has to be treated like a normal job. Like just because I don't have traditional business hours doesn't mean I still don't have a job that has to be done. Yeah. I'm really, really big on like transparency too. Like I want all my clients, like I have monthly clients, right? So usually what happens is I'll talk to you. We'll start off like get your books cleaned up and then I'll just maintain for you on a monthly level. Mm-hmm. And once we get to that point, like I want by every week, I want your stuff, like all your transactions categorized properly. Like I want it basically at any given time. If you needed your financials, you could go in and pull it. Like I don't ever want to be one of those service companies that's like, you know, I've heard numerous people be like, I don't even know if my stuff is done. I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know anything. And that's like, no, like if you're going to pay someone to do your stuff, you know, making sure it's done. And so I'm really adamant on like trying to stick to like, okay, this week, these are the projects, these are the maintenance. Because what I also don't ever want is like any of my monthly clients to feel like their stuff is not as important. You know, like I want it to where like, you know, you're getting what you're paying for. And also you understand. I think it's really important that people understand their financials, because I'm sure you've seen like it floats around like bookkeepers fraud, essentially, where they're taking money and they're doing things. Like you need to know how to actively be in your financials and watch for those things. And that's really important. And I feel like if people are not upfront and they're kind of not hiding, but maybe not helping you fully understand, then like, I mean, to each their own, but those are when those situations happen, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I do. I love it. I love my little job, but it's definitely not what all social media perceives it to be too. Like there still is work that has to be done. And I think any entrepreneur, you know, I think that's everyone's thing is like, oh, I actually hate the word entrepreneur. I don't know if we talked about that with our stuff, but everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. And it's like, but you still have to work and do work. Like this isn't mailbox money. This isn't just something that you just get. And so I think that if you want to do those things, you have to have structure. You have to make yourself do it. Like it's easy to be like, oh yeah, let's go have lunch. And then your day is gone. Like, you know, you have to be strict. And it's been an adjustment because I didn't really like not plan on having my baby, but we didn't really plan. Like we had been trying for a while and just kind of was like, oh, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. And the same month that I branched off and went solo with War Pony Consulting is the same month that I got pregnant. Of course. And so it's been challenging, but it's been really rewarding. And I get a lot of help. So my husband's amazing. My mom has been helping a lot too. Like I'll be like, Mom, I got to go to this client's meeting. My 5-month-old has sat in on so many CPA, like financial meetings, some buyout meetings. I joke around and I'm like, in kindergarten, he's going to be doing everyone's tax returns because like that poor kid has been, he has been in and out of all the meetings. But yeah, no, it's been good. The juggle is hard. And like, there's just some days that you can't do it all. Like there's just some days. And I think that's something too is at first it was kind of hard because I was like, oh, I want to get this. And I am going to go here. And then I'm going to come home and we're going to rope or we're going to do these things. But it's like, sometimes it's just not that way, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like with social media and like you were saying, entrepreneur, I think that it's this big dream that, oh, us entrepreneurs were, you know, sipping mimosas at 11 o'clock instead of working. And it's like, yeah, maybe one day we were, but you didn't see the month before that where we were putting 100 hours of work in a week. Or maybe we did go to lunch, but we worked all night, you know?
Yeah. Like I totally joke around and I say like, sometimes I do miss my like 8 to 5 because at least I only worked during those hours.
That is no joke.
You know, like people don't see like you're trying to make the graphics for social media. You're trying to figure out how to engage with clients because so my goal with War Pony Consulting is, and I've like, it's like that knowing the bubble too. Like they don't teach you none of this stuff. Like this is a learn as you go thing. Like your prices, you have to figure it out. When do you grow? When do you not grow? How do you promote something? Is this a good idea? How much time do I invest into this when I could be doing this? Like, it's all like, you've just got to figure it out, you know? And, my goal is to make War Pony Consulting a nationwide just accounting firm. So I'm actually talking about bringing in like a CPA that's within the firm. However, so my thing with being a CPA, so the reason why I don't do tax returns is because I feel like, I don't want to say it's a liability. I like the idea of another set of eyes on your books before your return is done. If I'm doing all your bookkeeping throughout the year and then I do your tax return, it takes the liability off, because there's another set of eyes that's like, oh, hold on. We all have the same rules. We all say like, these are the same core IRS rules that you can stay within. But like, some people do things a little bit different based on those rules. It's very gray. The accounting world is a very gray world. Like, you might talk to this CPA and they might say, nope, let's do this. And this CPA says this. Then you got state stuff in there and you got all this other stuff. And so for me, I like the cleanup. I'm not, it's what like fuels me. I love the mess, and I love putting it together and giving a clean product. And so I want to take this like remote firm and I want to grow it. I have a financial advisor that's an independent partner. He partners with several big banks. Most of them are West Texas based. That's where I am. However, it doesn't mean that because, say, you being in Arizona, call me and say, hey, I'm needing a loan, doesn't mean I can't help you still in that situation. So I'm trying to take all business things under one house, essentially, to where when you need something for your business, you come to War Pony Consulting. And so that's why I chose to call it consulting, because it's like you can consult on all different levels. But yeah, like taking it and growing it, and like going back to like, there's no one telling you like, that's a good idea. There's no one telling you don't do that or do it or charge this or don't charge that. Like, it's figuring it out. And like, a lot of people don't understand that, like you said, like they think entrepreneurs sitting on the beach, drinking a mimosa and just getting a check. And it's like, no, that's the most furthest thing from it. Like, I think when you own a business, you work twice as hard and I'm not trying to say like people who just are an employee aren't working very hard. There's just a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that I didn't realize went into it. And like, social media kicks my butt. It's hard. It's very, very hard. It's hard to target. Putting yourself out there is hard, and you just have to accept that I don't know. My thing is, I try to network always and like plant the seed. Like, this is who I am. I can help you, but I try not to overshare. I try not to, just project it on you where you're like, oh my gosh. Like, because also like people don't like to talk about their financials.
Yeah, that would be a tough one.
That's a hard one. That's a hard one. I do make all my clients sign like NDAs and things, because I just want you to know, like, your information is like just secure with me. Like, it's not going anywhere else. Like, it is a big thing you're trusting somebody with, but it's there's a lot that I did not realize that goes behind the closed doors of starting your own adventure. And I think not just even like accounting firm wise, I mean, anything you decide to do. Like, you could be a trainer and, it's like, oh, who's going to video you, working with this horse? Because people want to see things now, especially with social media. Yes. Videos, reels, pictures, befores, afters. Like, you have to sell yourself. And it's crazy.
Yeah. I feel like there has been a huge change in the way businesses are now. And I've been doing a lot of like research as we, grow my business too, because I'm like, I just wanted to sell horses, but now I got to freaking create content, delegate. I got to do all the legalities. But I do feel like there's been a huge transition now where social media, that's almost how people get to know you. Like, you and I, like, we had a conversation for 30 minutes before we started recording, and we've never met in person. We only follow each other's socials, but it's like we know each other. And I feel like that is huge in business, is like, you have to do the job that your business is created for, but you also have to, brand yourself and advertise and make sure your own financials are good. And yeah, there is so many hats that a business owner has to wear.
And like for me, I do work alongside several really good CPAs. I have some here in West Texas. I have some in like South Texas. I have some in Colorado that I work with. Like, you know, I've really just branched out. I would love, if anyone's listening, if you're in the horse world, I would love to talk, because I really am like trying to use my people essentially, you know, like we all have the horse thing in common. I think it's like so neat. Like I always say that War Pony Consulting is a place you talk business with your boots on. That's kind of like my slogan.
Yeah, I love that.
And so I love that. But like it's just so hard. And yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought after I said the whole slogan thing. But you said something in it. Yeah. This is also called postpartum brain, you know, it's like, oh my gosh. And then it was like squirrel. But yeah, no, it is. It's social media is not social. It's straight business. And it is really hard in the accounting world to make something that grabs people, that they feel comfortable coming to you and talking to you about financials or situations or things. I don't know. Like it's every day I just like try. I'm like, okay, we're going to try this. We're going to try that. And I think you just have to be willing to just try. Like there's no, something might take and something might not. And you just have to be adaptable. One of my friends, she used to own a boutique. And I remember this one time, and if she's listening, she's going to laugh, but there was this horrendous shirt. Okay. And I've been helping her when she first started, like she started this boutique out of her garage. Right. And so we're dressing this mannequin, and I'm like, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. It was horrible. And she was like, but that's what sells. And I was like, no one's going to buy this. I kid you not. That was the first shirt that went. And it kind of like to this day, like it stuck with me, because it's like, yes, you want to have a brand that represents you. Yes, you want to have these things, but also like you have to be adaptable. Like if that's not what's grabbing people and doing things, like you got to figure out that. And even though it's like, I'm not a boutique, you know, I'm not like, I'm an accounting firm. It's very weird that an accounting firm even has social media, honestly, or things like that. Like you have to make the things that are going to grab the people. Sorry, excuse me. I knew it was coming. But yeah, no, I do kind of sometimes miss the days where social media was just social. Like it's just a business platform at this point.
Yeah, there's a lot more strategy involved to socials than I think people realize. Even I kind of laugh the more I learn. It's like even these people that you follow and they're getting thousands of likes and they're just posting and people love them. I guarantee you they're making money on it. Like, you know, whether it's the platform or a business or whatever. But yeah, social media has definitely.
And the algorithm. So like going back to my podcast thing, like I was doing amazing on social media, and then I started doing affiliates. And then I think that social media was like, oop, she's making money, but we're not making money. And I got like shadow banned. And it's like, whoa, like all that hard work. And then they could just kidding. And so it's like knowing those things it's wild. It is so crazy. Like there's truly not like a business
handbook.
Yeah, here you go. Yeah, like how easy would that be? I try to do that for the accounting side of things. I try to be like, okay, if you want an LLC, this is what it comes with. If you want a DBA, this is what this means. Or like, when should you move or when should you do? But like, that's just the financial side of owning a business. Like there's so much that goes into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How long have you been in accounting before you went off, or including when you went off and started your own?
I had started Ben. Listen to me. You have to cut
Started
Ben. I do numbers, not English. Okay. Well, I have to do math real quick. That's what got me flustered is I was like, hold on, don't pop me on that. Okay. So for 7 years now, I have been doing the accounting stuff. I started in the oil field. I worked for a company. I started just data entry, taking like handwritten fuel logs, making them into Excel sheets, things like that. Then I moved over to some payroll. And then from there, I went to like project coordinating. And so that was really neat because I sit back now and I'm like, the connections I made at that part of my life, I like still use to this day. Like everyone jokes, but like if you need a contact in West Texas, call me. Like everyone's like I have a limo service guy that I just have his number. I always talk to everybody too. I'm very networky. Yeah, I'm like, what do you need? Do you need a limo? Do you need porta potties? Do you need equipment rental? Like, what do you need? I got you. You know, it's so funny. But fantastic. That part of my life, I think, is truly where I learned like so many like different things and made all my connections. So from there, I just kind of went to more like an office manager role and controller in the, like, we call it like a controller role is like the financial side of things. And I don't know, I like it. Like it comes really easy to me. Like it's one of those things where it's not that I don't have to try hard because I do, but like it just clicks, you know, it clicks for me. I don't think I've ever like truly read an entire book start to finish, but like numbers just work. And so it just, I don't want to say it kind of found me, but it did. And then I had always kind of like help people like, oh, you know, you need help with this, make this spreadsheet, you know, or, oh, make that, you know, and I don't know. I kind of saw a gap, like, especially where I'm at, like you have mom and pop businesses that are a lot of service companies. They truly operate out of their home. They don't necessarily even have an office. And then you have the big dogs, you know, that own blocks of things and big buildings downtown. And like these small businesses still need the same office duties, admin duties, financial responsibilities, all those things as these big companies. They're just on a different scale. And I just kind of like, I don't know, I just kind of saw like the gap and just went for it and was like, you know, like I mentioned before, I got kind of not burnout, but just the 9 to 5 isn't truly I'm not saying it's not a mom's thing. There's a lot of moms that do it. It just wasn't my mom's thing. It wasn't working for me. And I want to be able to load up and go to Wickenburg for a month and go rope if I want to go rope. You know, my husband, he's been with his company for a long time. He gets quite a bit of time off. And what we noticed, it was hard. It was like, just because he had the time off doesn't mean I had the time off. And so, or your kid is sick and, you know, it's like, you got to stay home, but like, it was just hard. So, I just took it and ran with it. And I really enjoy helping the small businesses. Like I said, there's kind of like there's not like a one size fits all. It's very customizable to like, what do you need? Do you need help with just invoicing? Do you need help with sales tax? Should you be charging sales tax? Are you crossing state lines? Now you have to, you know, like, for example, where I live in Texas, New Mexico, you can be in New Mexico in 45 minutes. And so there's a lot of work that like happens right there on that state line. And it's just knowing like, you know, on your financials, should you be paying income tax in New Mexico and in Texas, or sales tax in New Mexico, or, you know, like the different rates and things like that. Like a lot of these people can take a business and say, oh, I know that there needs to be another trucking company, right? I'm getting calls. I can make this a business, but it's like, how do I keep it a business? How do I make it a real business? How do I, you know, keep this thing afloat and know that I'm doing the proper business standards of doing that? Because if not, then the IRS gets to come in and say, oh, it's a hobby, or, oh, it's not legit, or, you know, then, or you're just like, I've just seen so many people who just don't understand. Like, you know, there's assets, there's liabilities. I just helped, I helped a lady, and she does horse training essentially I mean, she has some outside horses and things. But it was just knowing like how to classify these expenses to go against these 1099s. Because now in the horse world, like you don't just get to go win money anymore. And it's like, thanks for the money. They're like, you need to fill out this W-9. Well, do you even know what you're filling out? You know, do you know, do you run it under your social or do you run it under your business? Do you have an EIN? Should you need an EIN? You know what I mean? How do you offset that income? Because every horse person ever knows that there's way more expenses most of the time that go out the door than there's income that comes in, right? We might even say you go to Vegas and you win $100,000. I can almost bet you've dang near spent all of that, if not more, throughout the year just to get to Vegas to win the $100,000. And it's knowing how to capture those things, because there's a lot of that stuff that goes just unknown. Like, oh, I didn't know I could write off mileage. Oh, I didn't know I could write off, you know, these things. And when you say write off, doesn't mean it just goes away, but it does get to go against the income. Because at the end of the day, like your bottom dollar is what the IRS is going to say you owe a percentage based on your tax bracket too, you know, or just helping businesses, like small businesses, like, should you change your structure to like an S corp versus just an LLC for tax filing purposes? Like, what is self-employment tax? How does this work? Because what is the difference of being like 1099 versus W-2, and just setting yourself up? I think that at the end of the day, like, you don't want to leave anything on the table that couldn't have helped you. You know, like people work really hard for their money, no matter what industry or what you do. Like, that's your job. Like, you work really hard for it, and you should be utilizing it the most that you can utilize it.
Hang tight. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to us by Big Sky Horse Sales. From Montana to Arizona, Big Sky is your trusted online auction platform for quality rope, performance, ranch, barrel, and trail horses. Check out our Wickenburg online sales series December through March. Shop current consignments and stay tuned for the 2026 sale lineup, or contact us today to book your custom event at bigskyhorsesales.com. Big Sky Horse Sales, built on trust, backed by quality.
So, with your experience helping small businesses, what are some of the most common mistakes that are, I don't want to say easy fixes, but like a fairly simple fix that can really help them in the long run?
Not to sound like cliche, because I'm an accountant, but your books, like keeping record of your expenses. I think that's the biggest thing, is people at the gas pump. So like, it's easy if you have a business bank account. That's where I would definitely start. It's not easy, but it's cleaner. But if you're running a business and you don't have a designated bank account and like business credit card, whatever, like keeping your money separate is the biggest issue, because at the end of the year, you're trying to go in and you're trying to like go through all your statements, right? This is my like least favorite thing, is like telling somebody, like, they're like, okay, do you have a business bank account? And they're like, no, but I have 5 personal, and I run some out of here and some out of here. And it's like, we got to go through all your statements, and then you have to start highlighting, like, pick a color, you know what I mean? Like, this is what this is. And I just think, like, it's the most simple thing would be, even if you don't have an LLC, which is like a limited liability company, corporation, you do not need to have one of those. You can go have a DBA. You can still run it under your social, but you need or go open a separate bank account. Like, it could be as simple as a separate checking account that all your horse money is going in and out of. And that is the most simple but easy fixable thing. Because when you start mixing all your money around, you're not going to remember, oh, I went to the gas pump here. This is when I went on this trip, but this is when it was personal. And I promise you, if you go get audited, If you cannot prove 100% that it was business, you're paying taxes on that because they're not going to consider it a true deductible expense. And so it's just, if you can get in a clean habit of, I'm not sure I'm going to go try this adventure. I'm not sure if I need to even do anything like from a standpoint of making it into a DBA, which is doing business as, or assumed name, they're the same thing, or an LLC or partnership or S Corp, any of those things. I think go open a separate bank account for that venture. Put whatever you think you're going to need in there as a starting balance, 500, 1,000, 5,000, 50,000. I don't know. It depends on your adventure. Put your initial investment in there and go and see and use that for the money in. If you're going to make a profit, put that back in. If you're going to have expenses, take that out. It's super easy to do it that way, and it's a lot easier to make a set of books that way if you don't have anything, because at the end of the year, whether you have a set of books with, prepared financials, or you go to your accountant and you're like, here's all my receipts, like you still have to come up with the data to give them, and a lot of the times, something else that I kind of want to touch on is a lot of people will tell me, well, I didn't know, like my CPA, I didn't know you could do that. And it's kind of like, one, I would say, make sure you ask your CPA questions, because a lot of the times it's not, I don't want to like sound like I'm knocking any CPA here, but like they're going to file the paperwork you give them.
Right.
And unless you know the other stuff, like there's home office expenses that you get to take off. And are they astronomical? No, but any little thing helps, and knowing the different write-offs that you can take even from your personal stuff, I think is important. And so if you can have a clear picture of what you actually did for that one particular adventure, I think it would just help so much. So it's kind of like a long answer for your short question, but the business bank account, for sure, keeping your finances separate, whether it's a on paper business or not. Like if you're going to start a separate venture, just start it off clean. Start off with a fresh bank account that is particularly for that adventure, because it will make the world of difference come year in. Whenever the CPA is like, here, I need to know, going back to the 1099 stuff. I mean, if you're in the horse world and, you're just showing, but you're starting to make a lot of money on the weekends showing, like you need to start treating it as a business. Like if you're making income from it, you need to treat it as a business, because the IRS is going to want their portion of it. And I always say it's like, find a CPA that works for you, not for the IRS, and I think it's important that you ask questions. And I think that's important why you know how to read your financials, why you understand what is an asset, what is a liability, what is an expense. And a liability is, not your truck, or a liability is your truck payment every month. That's not really an expense, because no matter if you have money coming in, you're still liable to be paying that truck payment, or when do you put it as an asset and when do you leave it as an expense? And that'll kind of, that number kind of depends on your business and what you do. But knowing, do you take the depreciation? Do you take the mileage? Something that I've really tried to take pride in is at the end of the year, like the end of October, beginning of November, I try to sit all my clients down and I'm like, here's our financials for the year. Let's have a meeting, whether it's a 20-minute meeting over the phone, in person, whatever, with your CPA, whoever is signing that tax return. And let's get some like strategy. Do you have money that you need to spend before the end of the year? Should you not? Are you good? Are you going to break even? And the other thing is like, I love America, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. Okay. You can't show a loss on your tax return and then go hope for a loan, because when you are like a Schedule C 1040 tax return, like that's what they're taking is your net number. And you can't go get a loan and be like, well, I showed a loss on my business for taxes, because they're going to say, sorry, like you showed a loss, you know,
you don't have money to pay for this loan.
even though maybe you went and showed a loss because you didn't want to have to owe in taxes. So I think that's what's important, is sitting down with roughly like, you know, 60, 45, or I'd say like, I don't want to say 60, 90, but you know, at least 60 days left in the year of saying, okay, you know, like using a trucking company, for example, how are all your trucks? Are you going to need to buy a truck? Like where's everything at, to where if, you know, you do need to go get a loan, we also know like, hey, like this year, you know, we don't want to write and do a bunch of like stuff for the tax side of it, because we know we're going to need to go ask for money later this year. You know what I mean? Like, it's having those conversations and just knowing where people's financials are. And a lot of the times, I don't think people understand all the different tax stuff. Like, there's literally taxes for taxes for taxes. And I think people get really confused because it's like, you know, especially sales tax versus federal tax. It's like, oh, well, I pay that every month. And it's like, no, like you pay your sales tax every month, which is like the state level of them getting their portion of you doing business. But then you still have federal, you know, like federal is what you do at the end of, at the beginning of the year for the previous year, you know? So there's just so many things that I've just really noticed, especially in the small businesses. A lot of people have a lot of really good ideas, but they just don't understand the paper side of it.
Yeah.
Or how it moves, you know, or how, you know, how do we make it move in the best interest of this company, you know, still with like going back to, it's kind of a gray world in the accounting world. Like you really can ask a CPA one thing. Like I've sent a set of books for a client to this CPA and they said one thing, and I sent another set to this client and they said, you know, to the CPA, the same book, same paper. And they said, oh, I would do this. So it's knowing the questions to ask, but how do you know until you know? Like you don't. And so not for like a sales pitch, but I do think it's important that even if you're not someone that needs it on a monthly basis, let's talk quarterly. You know, like let's say, hey, can you, you know, like, can we review my stuff quarterly, make sure I'm on track? Should I be splitting things out different? You know, are you subject to sales tax? Are you not subject to sales tax? Are you charging enough? Like, you know, just different aspects that I think kind of get overglanced, because it's like a lot of the times people think like, I'll just deal with it at the end of the year, or I'll deal with it when I need it, right? Like, oh, I got to go get a loan. I need a loan right now. Like, I didn't know I was going to need all these things, you know, and it does. It makes a huge difference when you have a true idea of your money in and your money out. What is your future looking like? What are you planning on doing with it? You know, stuff like that.
Yeah. I know when I started my business, you know, I had been self-employed for a long time. I quit that when I moved to Montana and completely started over. And I did not realize that actually hurt me as far as like getting approved for a loan, or because I was like, well, I only have a year's worth of this new business to show you. And like, yes, we're doing well, but like, I only have a year's worth. So I think that is also, that's something I tell people, and I am not an accountant or anything. These are things I learned the hard way myself. Is those are also things to consider when you're starting a business. Like, is it going to be more beneficial for you to keep that part-time job and start this? And like, I think those are also good things to like take to an accountant or somebody very knowledgeable to decide like, yeah, I have this great idea and I know I jump and then I figure it out. And sometimes that bites me in the butt.
No, I get it. And I think that's what's important too, is like just having someone that you're comfortable having these conversations with, like, and talking to somebody. Like, there's so many different things that float out on social media and TikTok when it comes to business. And look, some of them are really great ideas, but they don't tell you the whole thing. They say, oh, you can put your kids on the business. It has to make sense. It has to, work. It can't just be like, like going back to the entrepreneur drinking the mimosa, sitting on the beach thing. Like, that's not real.
Yeah.
Like, and I love TikTok. I have found some of the coolest life hacks on TikTok. I will give it to TikTok. But also there's a lot of misinformation out there. ChatGPT, there's a lot of misinformation out there. Like, you have to know how to ask it correctly for it to give you a correct answer. Mm-hmm. If you just type something in and then like, oh, well, no, I don't have to because of this, it's like you're missing the whole idea, right? So if you're just typing in there, do I need to charge sales tax? It's going to think probably that it's you as an individual. Mm-hmm. And it's going to probably say no, depending on what thing you're doing here. But if you say like, hey, I'm running the money through an LLC in this state, you might get a whole different answer. You know what I mean? Like, you have to know what to ask it, how to ask it, what to prompt it. And so it's like one of those things where I don't think it hurts to, even if quarterly is too much, like at least around October, and I'm speaking for every accountant, is just don't wait until the week of taxes to be like, hey, oh my gosh, like it is something that you need to be forward thinking about. It's something that you need to be proactive and not reactive about, because it is hard to tell you to look at your stuff and make a true plan if you give someone a week to do it. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just impossible, and yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. And like you said, just it's kind of like the old credit card, right? Like, your first credit card you get and you're like, I don't know, usually like 18 or whatever. And then it has like a $300 limit. But like, if you close it, I guarantee your credit score is going down. Like, it's the same for a business. It's like, just, they like the history. It's how America works. That's how America makes its money, is on everyone's interest, Start getting rid of it. And it's like, oh, you get punished for not having debt. That's how it works. I don't know why, but that's how it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it is important. And just running different things by like different scenarios, or should you move this to an LLC so that you have maybe different tax benefits, or insurance? Sometimes, like, there's some insurance companies that you have to be an LLC to have certain insurance umbrellas for your company. They won't insure an individual. So I don't know. I think it's one of those things that everyone brushes off, but it really is important. And I'm by no means trying to say like to sell it or, anything else. But if you're making some sort of dollar, I promise they're going to want their piece of it.
Yeah. I feel like that also brings up a very important part of that is you need to find an accountant or CPA or whatever who also understands your business.
Yes.
Because I have Big Sky Horse Sales. I have a very like straight up marketing agency, but I also have my own horses. We stand a stallion. We sell our own horses. We play that side of the game too. And so there are a lot of write-ups or write-offs that we have, but those are things that I was also taught along the way by an accountant who understood the industry. They're like, no, you're making money off of this. Like, this isn't your hobby. You're making money off of this. Like, these also apply. And I think when you're in this horse industry, it is very important to find somebody who understands that as well. That can be like, I understand the full scope of your business. I might not be able to go do it every day, but I understand the full scope of your business. Yeah. And here's how I can help you to better your business.
I mean, it's truly nothing. And I'm not saying this like, it's just how our industry is. It's nothing to go give 30, 50,000 easy for a horse right now. And that's not even for one that you're guaranteed to go in off of, and you're spending astronomical amounts of money. And I promise, like, there's some like CPAs that'll look at that and be like, that's a horse. And it's like, you just don't understand. Right. Yeah. Or the vet bill side of it, or, the shoeing side of it every 6 weeks. And that's if it's like normal shoes, essentially, and the feed and all the different things it's really important. Or it's really important, like, if you're out of the horse industry and you're like, gonna go do some adventure like in retail, that you have someone that understands like retail side of it and things like that. You're absolutely right. It's really important that you can have someone that you can relate to, that you can talk to, that understands, because it'll make or break the difference in getting those numbers. Like, kind of going back to what I was saying about the CPA, is like, they're going to file the paperwork you give them. And if you don't know what to give them, if you don't have someone, that might not be in your industry, that might be like, I don't know, they just spent this much money on a horse this year. Sounds good. Like, is that horse insured? Just knowing how to ask all the questions that kind of come with the lifestyle.
I think that's a good point too, for even small business owners or, horse trainers. I feel like that's a really good category of capitalizing on this, because it's, if you're just a young trainer getting into the game, there are so many things. Like, we understand you're probably not raking in the dough yet, because it is a hard industry to step into, but you might not be raking in the dough, but there's also a lot of things on the back end that can help your business in moving forward and learning how to better yourself and take better advantage of your current financial situation. And
I do think that there's a lot that people can do themselves, like when they're in that situation where they're not ready for like full service bookkeeping, right? They're like, hey, I'm kind of starting, but I don't want to start with a mess. And so it's like, don't ever be afraid to ask. Like, don't ever be afraid to just like ask. And, it's a hard line of like giving away your knowledge for free, for sure. But also like knowing that I want you to be successful. Like, I by no means am sitting here like, I am the same small business that you are, in the same situation. Like, I am too trying to start up. I am too trying to do these things, but doing them correctly. Like, don't just think, oh, that doesn't apply to me because I don't have a business. I don't have an LLC. I don't have, a formal piece of paper saying that you have a business. If you make income, you have a business.
Yeah. What are some absolute basics as far as, small businesses that are keeping their own books? What are some very basic aspects of that to track, to be able to take to an accountant or CPA at the end of the year?
I would say find a software. It doesn't have to be very expensive. Everyone's pretty familiar with QuickBooks. I do really like QuickBooks. I mean, I have a couple clients that have custom softwares for theirs, and they essentially all do the same thing. I think it's a lot easier. There's another product called Wave, WAVE, like Ocean Wave. It's free up till like a certain tier, essentially. But you can link your bank accounts, things like that, keeping your transactions categorized. You can make an Excel spreadsheet. You can have a tab that's like income. You can have a tab that's expenses. But keeping your things organized as far as like, even if it's on a monthly basis, that you're like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to go through my credit card statement. I'm going to highlight my fuel in orange, my meals in blue, my income in green. And you're going to, even if you just handwrite on the top of that statement, I had these expenses and this much income this month. Make yourself what's called a profit and loss. And then that way at the end of the month, you can say, okay, well, this month I didn't do so good. This month I did better. Whatever the case is, but those are what you're going to really need to take at the end of the year to the person doing your taxes. And if you do them on a monthly basis, it also helps because so many people don't realize how many little things that they have. Like, speaking out of my own pocket, I didn't realize how many like little subscriptions to like CapCut or Canva or like these little apps that it's like, oh, I'm going to try that. And then I kind of forget about it, and then the $10 comes out of my account and I'm like, oh crap, I need to cancel that. But I just don't. But that's $120 in a year. Like, it is kind of crazy to think about. And so I would say find some sort of way to just keep up with the money you made and the expenses that you had in that month, and keep it consistent. If every month you're going to do meals, fuel, travel, cost of goods, which is essentially the money that you had to spend to make the income, like keep up with it to where it's not at the end of the year you're stressed out. Oh my gosh, I have 12 months worth of stuff now in a week because life gets busy. I don't think it's anyone's personal intention, like a few days before the return being like, oh crap, I need to come up with all this stuff. But, and that kind of goes back to the bank account, like have a bank account designated for each adventure that you want to go down. And same with the credit card. Try not to use that sucker, flip-flop between all 5 adventures. If you got 5 things going, try to get some sort of organization, but it doesn't have to look, super fancy. It just needs to be functional.
That's great advice.
Yep. That's my, because at the end of the day, I don't know, there's just going to be those little things like, I don't know, your personal card wasn't working this month and you used a personal expense. I don't know, highlight it pink or highlight it red, or I don't know, something to where it's like, at the end of the month, that's not an actual deduction to your company. You can't take that as a deduction. And if you were to get audited, I don't know, there's just different things. I always tell people, plan for the worst and hope for the best kind of thing. Let's plan it to where if we get audited, we're not worried, and let's hope that we don't get audited. Nobody wants that, but at the end of the day, it's just a matter of time. They will find their way to fine tune everything. So, and I just always forward think, am I going to have to go take out a business loan later? Am I how is that going to look on my tax returns if I file a wash or a loss or minimal profit or whatever the case is? And then they say, because the thing is, when you go ask for a loan, they're usually going to want 2 to 3 years of history. They don't necessarily just want that last month or even this current year. They want history. So just kind of be forward thinking of, what is my goal with this company? Am I going to go ever take out a loan in this company's name? If you're not trying to use this business, as a side hustle, or, just to track your expenses within this adventure, really. I mean, anything can kind of do that. I mean, there's just always be forward thinking. I think what gets people is the reaction side of accounting, not needing it until you needed it yesterday kind of thing. Just know you're always gonna, this is your history. These are your business numbers. And if you want to treat it as a business, there's just things that you have to do.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think no business is too small. I mean, according to the IRS, if it makes money, it's a business, you know? So, and the other big thing is yes, there's a few things that I would say. Absolutely. I'd say figure out your own bank account, your profit and loss, and figure out if you need to be 1099ing people. Because in January, you, as a business, if someone has made over $600, if you wrote someone a check for over $600, you technically are liable to send them a 1099 in order to write that expense off through your business. Because the way it works is somebody has to pay the taxes on that money. And the IRS says $600 or more to an individual. So, for example, with your business, if you call someone and you pay them, to do some marketing for you, you're like, I'm going to outsource this marketing, and it's over $600. At the end of the year, you're supposed to send them a 1099 for that $600 because they have to claim it as income. And there's differences of advertising and marketing, contract labors. Those are what we call your chart of accounts, where you're putting your money, essentially categorizing it. It does make a difference from a tax standpoint. But if there's any sort of contract labor, if you have someone that comes and cleans your stalls and you're just paying them cash, you can't write that off. The IRS is going to say, in order to write that off, you have to send them a 1099 form and they have to report that as income. So you get a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just going to pay cash for that. Or I'll just pay cash. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but know that you can't write it off through your business. If you were to get audited, then they're going to say that's going to be considered like owner draw, which is equity. And then it's not going to come against your net income to your company. So knowing little things like that too, I think is helpful. And if you are thinking about starting a business, I think it's helpful to just call someone and say, this is what I'm starting. Like, can you give me some pointers of what I need to do to get started, and at least have knowledge from the ground up of things to expect.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you to get help, where can they find your information?
So I definitely am way more of a Facebook person than an Instagram person. The only time I'm on Instagram is because it's linked to my Facebook. So definitely go to my Facebook. It's War Pony Consulting LLC. You can go to my personal page, Cassidy Honne, too. I answer to both. My personal page is kind of locked down. It'll send it to like the request. So try to go through the business page. I have a website. It's warpony, like WARPONY.co, not com, .co. That's also a business piece of a tip I would probably recommend to somebody is when you pick your domain, .com was not available. I should have chose like .net or something because .co is a lot of typos. So there's your other piece of advice is don't do .co, but .co. I have an inquiry form on there too. Like if you're just like, I'm not really sure, this is kind of a little bit about me, you can just inquire right off of it there. Something else that I just launched was a client portal. I think it's so neat because I can actually send you like your secured financials. We can send through that portal. So it's a lot more secure versus just email. Because gosh knows the cyber craziness going on. Like it's insane. So the client portal is really neat too. Once you actually have an account with me and you're an active client, your portal goes live. And so you can send secure chats through there, documents. Also, it's really nice because if I do set you up an LLC, I mean, let's be honest, everything gets lost in email. You can log right into your portal if you're at the bank and be like, oh, I need these paperwork, these forms to open my business bank account. You can log in and get them right then without having to be like, oh, I have to find them or anything like that. So it's just also convenient. But that's all on the website also. So yeah, Facebook, the website, my email is cassidy@warpony.co. You can shoot me a direct email. I'm always checking it. But yeah, I'm definitely pretty flexible. Something I will say is my niche of clientele are probably going to be the ones that also either have a side hustle and a job, or at the end of the day, like if you're a horse trainer, right, during your day, you're busy. That's when you're working, right? That's when you're making your money. You're riding horses, taking care of horses, going to the vet, you're doing things like that. I try to respond during business hours, if you will, but don't think, oh, it's 8:00 at night. I don't want to shoot her an email or whatever. Like I understand that those are your hours too. And so I kind of try to have business hours, but I also understand there's really no such thing as business hours at this point.
Yeah.
What are business hours?
Well, yeah, that's fair.
But no, it's been fun. It's been, here I was and I was like, oh, I'm not going to ramble. I'm not going to like nerd out, but I did. So I try to do it within a range, within a budget. Okay.
That's what we had you here for. All the accounting things.
Yeah. So and there was a lot of vague stuff. So I mean, if you have questions too, like, and you're not understanding or you're just not sure if your business is at that pivotal point or not, like, don't ever hesitate to reach out because at the end of the day, you work so hard for your money. Like, don't leave anything on the table. And I will say this, like one thing that is very, very important is it is a suing game right now. Like you have to plan for the worst. And if that means, running your business in a different entity structure, because, like, you work hard for the things you have and they should be protected. Mm-hmm. Did I leave anything kind of like too
honestly
open?
I feel like we covered a lot of like really good information. Enough that people, if they have questions, they'll reach out. I think. Thanks for taking the time to
Thanks for riding along with me on Horses, Hope, and Hustle. If you found even a little bit of inspiration or grit here today, share it with a friend, leave a review, or tag us on socials, and keep showing up for what truly matters. Until next time, stay true, stay tough, and keep hustling.